Hey guys, this is Jonathan and welcome to a C++ tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to be learning the basics of arithmetic in programming. Now the arithmetic in programming is actually slightly different than in the math that you've probably grown up with in school. So be ready for a couple surprises along the way. Now what I've set up here is we have an integer which I've called x and I've set it to 56, and then we just output the variable. So we output 56. That's simple enough. However, let's say we had the variable of 3 plus 4. Now this should equal 7. Very simple. You add a plus symbol, it adds the numbers. This makes sense. Now if we were to change this to a negative, let's actually increase this. Well, we'll leave this. So 3 minus 4 is now going to be a negative 1. And you can see the little negative symbol there. That works. If I were to increase 3 to 7, now we would get a positive 3 value on our output, as you can see. This is all super simple so far. Now, I would like to make one quick sidebar and say that if the integer was unsigned, there we go, unsigned, and we had 3 minus 4, which would be negative 1. What happens is, since it can't be a negative, it loops around, and from 0, it goes backwards to the biggest number that integer can be, and it starts subtracting from there. And so that is why you get a super big number, because we're using the word unsigned, or the modifier. So that's just a quick little sidebar. All right, let's get back to this arithmetic here. Now let's deal with multiplication. If we do 3 times 4, we should get 12. This is pretty straightforward. However, if we did 3 divided by 4, we're actually going to get not 0.75, but 0. Now, why is that? Well, this integer cannot have decimal places. Now you might be thinking, but 0.75 still rounds up to 1. Well, in programming, you don't round up. You always go down. You just ignore the decimal places. Whatever they are, just take the whole number before the decimal place. Or round down, whichever makes most sense to you. So the value ends up being 0. So if I took actually the number, let's say 13, and divided it by 4, we should get 3 and a 0.25, but this will only give the answer of 3. And that is how it works. Now, what about that remainder? How do we figure out what was not included in this value? Because obviously, 13 divided by 4 times 4 should equal 13. But in this case, 13 divided by 4, which is 3, times 4, is 12. So we need to figure out this missing remainder. So what we can do is use this little symbol that divides and grabs the remainder. And that is this little percentage sign symbol. And in programming, we call that symbol modulus. So we do 13 modulus 4, and we should get 1, because the remainder, after dividing 13 by 4, we get a remainder of 1. Now, if we took 13 and divided it by 6, let's say, we should also get 1, because 6 goes fully into 13 2 times with 1 remainder. If I were to change this number to a 5, it would be a 3, because 5 goes into 13 2 times with a remainder of 3. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys, and that is basically how that works. Now, I'd like to take this one step further and give another example. Let's have 3 times 5 plus 4. Now, what is going to happen? Well, there's an order of operations that happens. Multiplying and dividing happens first. So what the computer will do is multiply 3 times 5, giving it 15, and then add 4 to 15, bringing it to 19. So if we run this, we should get 19. There we go. Now, if it had been divided by, same sort of thing would have happened. So multiplying and dividing happens first, then addition. Now, normally in math, if you just have multiplying and division, it doesn't matter what order you scramble these numbers up, it will always result in the same answer. However, in programming, that is not the case because divided by removes the remainder. So it's important to understand the order here. So in this case, let's see what happens. We should get a 0 is what I'm expecting. All right, so the value is 0. Now let's ask why. Well, what happens is since the importance or the order of these operations are the same, the computer chooses to deal with the left to right method. So it first does the 3 divided by 5 rather than the 5 divided by 4. So what it does is 3 divided by 5, which is 0, and then it divides it by 4, which is obviously still 0. So if I were to swap this up a little bit, and whatever happens in brackets happens first. You sort of force the order to change. So now we're telling it, do this first. 5 divided by 4, which will work out to 1. And then 3 divided by 1 will work out to 3. So now you can see that the value has changed because we forced it to not do its default order of operations. And that is the basics of arithmetic in programming in general, not just C++. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.